Hey there everybody, it's me Mayo, and in today's video, I'll be designing a few OCs for a comic project I'll be working on. This will be a start of a series where I'll draw and talk about this little project of mine. For the first episode in this series, I want to design the main characters in the comic, so I'll only be working on character sheets. I'll also talk a little bit about the plot of the comic, an introduction to it if you may. I'm still developing this comic, so there could be things I could change in the future. Anyways, let's get to it. So to start, the comic is a post-apocalyptic story. In 2010, a nuclear war broke out across the world. The radiation from the missiles turned people into man-eating monsters/zombies. They're called infecteds, and they infect people through biting and parasites. And thanks to them, wiped out almost half of the population during the war. Don't worry, I'll design them in a future video. Then a year or two after the war/outbreak, a new species just emerged out of nowhere. Now stay with me. During the war, a weapons company was developing super soldiers who have the supernatural strength and speed of vampires. They were called Dracula soldiers and were supposed to be sold to the US Army until the infected outbreak started. After the war/outbreak, the Dracula soldiers escaped from their prisons and began to live on the surface along with the human survivors. Humans just call them vampires since that's what they really are. The Dracula soldiers and humans always kept fighting, but they tried to get along when they had to. Okay, I think that's all the plot I can give. Let's get to the character designs. First off, we'll start with Janice, who in the comic is a bounty hunter cowgirl in the post-apocalypse. Now, since she's a bounty hunter, she of course needs to get paid for her services. In this world, they just trade with each other since there's no real currency anymore, and these trades either end peacefully or bloody depending on what the deal was. If ever people want her to hunt/look for people and creatures, they just trade her some goods and she'll do so. As you can see here in the speed paint, her design changes a lot since I have a bunch of ideas I either added or scrapped. First, I gave her shoulder pads, since, well, in a lot of post-apocalyptic media, there's always characters who have those, so I added them along with elbow pads and knee pads. I then removed the elbow pads since I thought they weren't necessary, and later on during the line art process, I also removed the shoulder pad as well, since I didn't like it at all and thought it was unnecessary. I ended up adding these little folded up sleeve things at the ends of her jacket to make it look cool. I tried my best to combine the cowboy aspects and post-apocalyptic aspects into her design, without putting in too much details, while not making it boring as well. Since I'm gonna be drawing her in a comic, less is more. I added random colored patches in her clothes, and along with the other characters here in the video, since I thought that since it's the post-apocalypse, sometimes their clothes would not be in very good condition and might have some wear and tear. I don't know, I thought it'd make the design more interesting. After the reference sheet, I opened a new canvas where I sketched her out from memory a bit to see if I can remember her design and to see if there are any details on her design I should remove. I also tried to show her personality here through these sketches. I had trouble remembering where the patches go, but all is alright. Anyways, after that, I ended up painting her since it's been a while since I painted and thought I should do it. It's fine, I guess. I then drew her props that will appear in the comic project she'll feature in. She's a bounty hunter and it's mostly weapons like guns, and oh boy do I need to practice drawing rifles. Especially in perspective. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really look up any references, so it's probably on me, I guess. I also drew her revolver, which is what she'll mainly use in the comic, and was a bit easier to draw in perspective, and at the same time kinda hard. I kinda forgot to draw her hat, which I think I should have, but probably next time. Also, the proportions on her is kind of off if she's seen next to the characters, so I'm planning on redrawing her sheet in the near future. I'm not redrawing her right now since then I wouldn't be finished with anything at all if I do, so yeah. Anyways, here's Janice. She's a gunslinging bounty hunter who'll take any job as long as she gets paid fairly. Screw with her though and you'll be in a world of pain. She's the main character for my comic. Well, one of the main characters, I guess? I don't know. I'm still developing this comic, so it might change. Jonathan, or Johnny for short, is a little boy that Janice is looking after she found him in an abandoned settlement all alone. His design is fairly simple, just a sweater, a pair of pants, and a pair of shoes. What I did had trouble though was trying to get his proportions right. I don't really draw children as much, just adults and teens, so I was struggling trying to make him look like an 8-year-old instead of an angsty teenager. Watching a few tutorials helped me and I ended up using the head method thingy to measure his height and stuff. Which I should have used when designing Janice, because these two next to each other is low-key weird. Anyways, after that, I opened up a new canvas to sketch him from memory and to show a bit of his personality. He's a kid, so of course he's rowdy, but is a bit grumpy at times. He likes to play with his stuffed toy that his mom gave him. And since you can see in the sketches too, he's a vampire but not really, so he's eating like rats or something, alive things. Yeah, anyway. When Janice first found him, Johnny begged her to help look for his mom. She was hesitant at first because when she first found him, she already assumed his mom was dead. So that's basically how their story would go. Trying to find Johnny's mom and their relationship would develop into a mother and son thing. I don't know, it's kinda interesting to me. Anyways, here's Johnny's design. Simple, and to be honest, that's what I really needed, since the next character is kind of a pain in the ass. So if you followed me on Instagram, if you had it, it's at mayosleepz. Anyways, if you followed me on Instagram, you're probably familiar with this character, Margot. If you haven't, well, Margot is one of the characters I made last year. I had a plan with her to feature in a comic project, but never really went through with it. So now I'll be redesigning her to fit for this comic project, since she'll be a main character here too. The comic's flow will be that Janice and Margot will have separate storylines in the first half of the story. And as the story goes on, their storylines slowly become connected to the point the two would be interacting with each other. I hope I made sense with that. Anyways, let's get to her design. Margot and Johnny are the same species, so they may have similarities in how they look, but they are not siblings. In Margot's redesign, I just replaced her jacket and polo shirt from her old design with a purple hoodie that has a cat on it and a green shirt underneath. Margot is a young vampire that is very interested in the history of the world before the war, and always travels to far and dangerous places to obtain artifacts from that era. So in her storyline, she'll just be an old treasure hunter / historian, I guess. A lot of it would consist of her finding lost artifacts like the iPod or something. Since she'll be traveling to very dangerous places, she'll of course need protection. I gave her a survival knife where she can easily and quickly stab enemies if she has to. She also has a bow for long-distance attacks, which she prefers. She never really uses guns since she thinks it's too loud and have some trauma involved with guns, which will be a secret for now. As a treasure hunter, she'll need a bag to keep her findings, and of course, I gave her a bag. She took a bit longer to finish since her props were a bit detailed, like the bag, quiver, and the bow. When I began to sketch her from memory, I tried to make her scrunkly, you know? She's a little guy, she's interested in history, shoots arrows, and stab things. I'm also showing a bit of her personality here. Curious and is happy to talk about things she learned. I also drew Margot's props here in more detail, and some are changed from her sheet earlier. Anyways, here it is, Margot's sheet. I changed a lot from her previous design. Her old design was a bit boring and she didn't look like she was in the same universe as Janice and Johnny, so I ended up changing it. And those were all of the character designs for today's video. There will be more of this series, so stay tuned. Also, the art in today's video, along with more of my art, can be found on my socials like Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr. I'll be posting a lot about my comic and my socials too, so if you're interested in that, feel free to follow. That's all for today's video. Hope you liked it. If you wanna see more of my stuff, just like and subscribe. Bye!